Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is basically some story times about some awful dates that I've been on. So if you've been on awful dates or anything similar or worse, you should definitely leave in the comments. I'd love to read through and see that maybe that I'm not the only one that's went on a bad date, or, you know, had high expectations and it didn't end up like that, or whatever it may be. So start with the first bad date that I ever had when I was 16. I was on a blind double date with my friend, and her boyfriend brought his friend. We had a really long day planned because we were going to go to breakfast, Six Flags, and then to a Cardinals game. So we all drive up to the city, and we get to the breakfast place, and we're sitting there, and I had just gotten my belly button pierced, and I was like messing with it, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Messing with my piercing." And he's like, "Oh, you have a belly ring." And I was like, you know, you're 16 at this point, so like this is really how conversation goes, honestly. And I was like, yeah, I just got it pierced or whatever. And I like lifted it up to show him, and he was like, you have an Audi? And I was like, yeah, why? And he's like, dude, because like Audis are so weird. That's like, it's like being left-handed. And at this point, my friend is like like trying to stifle her giggles because I'm also left-handed. So we all get our breakfast, and we're kind of just like eating in silence. It's really awkward at this point. And my friend gets a text, and she's like, "Hey, do you know this number?" And I was looking at the phone, and I was trying to figure out if I knew the number, and I did not. So I look at the text message that was sent to her, and it says, "She's pretty, but she talks too much." Okay, you could not even wait until the date was over. Like, I know we had a full day planned, but you really thought telling my friend that I talk too much was gonna make that whole day go smoother? I was so young and so just like, I can't change that I have an Audi, and I can't change that I'm left-handed, so like, why are you even mad about those things? Complete turn off. I ended up not riding any rides with him or sitting next to him at the game or ever speaking to him ever again, and I don't even remember his name. If that tells you how much depth I put into that. So let's see. Another time I went on this Tinder date, and I wasn't really feeling it, but he was really persuasive, and I was like, fine. If anything, it's just a drink, you know, I'm just going to get a drink. So I end up driving like 40 minutes to this place, and I'm like, it's gonna be closed when I get there, and he's like, no, they know me, they'll stay open for me, this and that and the other. And so I'm like, okay, I'm thinking it's just like a little small like hole in the wall that probably stays open late anyway. And I get to this restaurant, and he's still in his work clothes. He brought a friend, and the restaurant is closed. So we go sit on the patio outside, me and him and his friend, to which I find out he doesn't have a car. And that's literally why I met him at work, so that I could be his ride home from work. So at that point, I ended up taking his friend home and taking him home. And we dropped his friend off, and after we dropped his friend off is when it got weird. This guy is in my car, and he's like, yeah, so I was on this date with this Tinder girl one time, and we were fucking. And like, well, yeah. And he's like, and she started screaming like, no, stop. And he's like, so I stopped and was like, what's going on? And she was like, no, keep going. And he's like, and that was just weird, so I left. And I was like, yeah, no, it's pretty weird. Kind of trying to figure out why he's telling me this story. And he's like, yeah, so, you know, I just assume that anyone I meet off Tinder is just a dumb Tinder slut. You met me on Tinder, so you just told on yourself. And it also made it weirder because the GPS, I kept accidentally missing my turn, and the GPS rerouted me twice. And on the second time, I was like, dang it, I keep missing that turn. And he's like, yeah, I know. And I was like, then why didn't you tell me? Like, I'm sitting here wasting my gas. I have to work in the morning, and you're just wasting my time at this point. Like, he ended up hitting me up and asking if we could go out again, and I told him no, and he said, why? And I said, because you were weird. And he asked me how he was weird, and I don't have time to explain to people what they're doing wrong. I honestly do not. So, that was pretty recently. Like, that was within this year. Yeah, so that wasn't fun. Let's see, do I have any more? When I was 15, I went to a dance with a guy I'd been dating for about 10 months, and we had been pretty rocky on and off, but we were most definitely on at this point. And one of his best friends at school was a female who was just going above and beyond to completely sexualize their dance experience together, for lack of a better term. And so on the way to the restaurant after the dance, I was like, you know, I don't really appreciate that she did that, or that you did that. Like, I don't think that that's right. I was like, you know, I don't really feel comfortable with any of that. And he was like, well, you're not gonna do anything about it. And I was like, what? And he's like, I was like, I don't plan on doing anything. I was like, but if I need to say something, I'm gonna say it. And he's like, no, you're not. I was like, yes, I am. And at this point, we're pulling into the parking lot of the restaurant, and we're all, like, pretty much the entire dance, the whole school is coming to this place. And I'm in a strapless dress that's short, and it's February in Missouri, so it's like 30 degrees. And it was like a sweetheart Valentine's dance. That's why it was so cold. He goes, give me my jacket and get out of my truck right now. And I just, like, looked at him, and I was like, and he's like, now. And I was like, and I, like, took off the jacket, like, in utter shock, and took off the jacket and handed it to him and stepped out of the truck. And he shut his door, locked his door, and then walked inside. And at this point, I'm bawling. And I look over, like, to watch him walk inside, and at this point, it's a Steak and Shake, so there's, like, a bunch of windows. There's, like, 30 people standing in the windows, looking at me, pointing and laughing, and I'm standing on the corner in the middle of this town, in the rain. It was wet out. I feel like it was wet, or it was just really cold. I don't remember, but I was shivering. I was freezing. I didn't have a ride. You know, it was literally so traumatic. It was such a shitty experience. And I called my friends, and they came and got me. Like, still so thankful for them to this day. We're not very close anymore. They kind of moved off and went to college and did their own thing, but I am so glad that they came to my rescue that evening. They wanted to pour Mountain Dew all over his windshield, but I was like, no, like, let's just go. But my friend did end up going into Steak and Shake and, like, cussing him out and telling him how it was and what it is and stuff. But yeah, I'll never forget that. That was just awful. Yeah, those are some of the worst dates, worst boy experiences I've ever had. If you guys have any stories or anything to add in or anything similar, definitely leave them in the comments below. I'd love to read them, like I said, and laugh with you guys and know that I'm not alone and that men do suck most of the time. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, do not forget to give it a like, please. It helps my algorithm, helps me get noticed, and you're probably not listening at this point, but if you still are and you haven't subscribed, please just sign in to YouTube and subscribe to me. It would mean literally the world to me. It means it's my life, it's my passion, it's what I want to do, and you guys are the reason that I create videos. If no one was watching these, I'd be wasting a lot of time. So on that note, I will see you guys all in my next one. Bye.